If you've ever felt like you don't quite fit, even when you're doing well on paper, and you struggle to express your creativity the way it feels inside you, this video is for you. There's something I've been thinking about lately, not so much what I create here, but why. And more specifically, who this is actually for. Because I think for a long time, I've been speaking around this without naming it directly. Before we dive in to today's conversation, I would just like to say hello and welcome. If we haven't met yet, I'm Janet, architect turned creative renewal coach and watercolor artist. I founded Blueprint to Brushstrokes to support mid and late career creatives who feel burned out, emotionally depleted, and disconnected from their creative work. But more than that, I'm really trying to create a space where thoughtful, sensitive people can reconnect with themselves and express their creativity without fear or judgment. That's also why I share my reflections, prompts, and creative practices through my newsletter and blog. Some of these conversations need a little more room and privacy than a YouTube video allows, and those spaces let me explore them more deeply with you. I've always been a deeply sensitive person, someone who notices a lot, feels a lot, thinks deeply about things that don't always have clear answers. And growing up, especially as a Gen X kid, that wasn't always something that was understood or welcomed. If you didn't quite process the world the same way, or if your creativity didn't show up in the right way, it was often something that got judged, criticized, dismissed, or ridiculed. Something you were either good at or not. And if you were deemed not, then the message became, well, why bother? And over time, something begins to happen. You learn how to function really well. You might even become very successful. But underneath, you start to disconnect from how you naturally think, how you naturally feel, and how you would express something if there wasn't pressure around it. You start performing instead of expressing, and creativity can quietly fade. Not because you lost it, but because it wasn't safe enough to be fully yourself within it. And what I've come to recognize through my life, my family, and my work is that there are many of us who are deeply sensitive, highly perceptive, often high achieving, and at the same time, we experience the world a little differently. Sometimes that's described as neurodivergent. A psychologist friend of mine calls it Neuro-Spicy, which I really like. And what that often means is we've learned how to perform, how to succeed, how to function at a high level in the world. But we haven't always been given the space to explore how we actually experience things or how we naturally express them. In many ways, that's the work I find myself returning to again and again. Helping people understand their own patterns rather than simply trying harder to fit someone else's, so they can truly, authentically express their creativity. And I think this is where creativity got lost for many of us. It certainly did for me, because we were taught, either explicitly or implicitly, that creativity is something you're either good at or not, something to be judged, something to be evaluated. But what I've come to understand is this: creativity isn't something you lose. It's something that becomes quiet when it hasn't been safe enough to express. Creativity is not a performance. It's not something you earn or have to prove. It's an innate form of expression, something that already exists within you, something that connects you back to yourself, and something that becomes essential to express, not for productivity, but for your own very deep well-being. It's one of the reasons so much of my work focuses on creative renewal rather than artistic achievement or technical skills. I'm much more interested in helping people reconnect with themselves than helping them produce more. So, when I create these videos about painting, about sketching, about creative practice. It's not really about technique or skill development. It's about creating a different kind of space. A space where there isn't anything to prove. There isn't any judgment. You don't have to mask who you are, but instead you can get curious about how you think and feel, reconnect with your own rhythms, and slowly rediscover a sense of joy in creating. Not because it's productive, but because it's yours. So instead of asking, am I creative enough? Try starting with something simpler. Where in my life do I feel like I'm performing instead of being my authentic self? And where might there be space, even a very small space, to express something without needing to perform or feeling judgment? That's actually the starting point of the Creative Confidence Reflection Guide as well, helping people slow down long enough to understand what they're experiencing before trying to fix it. So, if you're someone who is capable, thoughtful, and high functioning in your work, but also feels deeply and sometimes gets overwhelmed, thinks in complex layered ways, or has spent years trying to adapt yourself to fit others' expectations, and somewhere in all of that, you lost touch with your own creative voice, this space is for you. Whether that's through these videos, the newsletter, or one of my guides, or through coaching, I want you to know you're welcome here. If today's conversation resonated with you, you'll find the links below to the resources I've mentioned throughout this video. And if you're looking for more personalized support in reconnecting with your creativity, I am still offering one-on-one coaching built around this process. I'd love to support you if that feels like the next right step. You don't have to become someone else to be creative. You don't have to earn it, or prove it, or measure it. Creativity isn't something outside of you. It's something you return to, gently, honestly, and in your own way. Until next time, wishing you a gentle, creative, grace-filled day, and I'll see you in the next video.